On his way to work, a teacher stops at his favorite coffee house to get a cup of coffee, but it's too hot to drink at the time, so he decides he's going to wait until he gets to school, which is only 5 minutes away, and hopefully by then it will be cool enough to drink. So he's getting his coffee ready to go, and then he stops and thinks, should I add the cream now while I'm at the coffee shop, or shall I wait till I get to school and add it just before I drink it? Which way is going to help my coffee be as cool as it can be when I'm ready to drink it? What do you think? Should he add the cream at the coffee shop and let the coffee and cream cool together? Or should he let the coffee cool by itself for 5 minutes and then add the cream just before he's about to drink it? Which one's going to make the coffee cooler? Or is it even going to make a difference? Well, we're going to do an investigation to see if we can find the answer to that. And it will give you an opportunity to use both of your built-in temperature sensors and to see all the options you have, or some of the options that you have, for viewing two different temperatures or two different measurements in a graph display. You'll also have an opportunity to practice moving around the graph display, to use one of the graph display tools, the linear fit tool, and to change one of the data properties, namely the measurement names. So if you're going to do this with us, you need about 600 milliliters of coffee or water, the hotter the better, 200 milliliters of cream. This teacher likes a lot of cream in his coffee. And 2 containers, about 400 milliliters, or that will hold at least 400 milliliters each. Of course, you also need your GLX and the 2 provided temperature probes. So we're going to have our GLX already turned on, and let's get started. First thing we're going to do is plug our first probe into temperature port 1 on the left side of the GLX. And then our second probe into temperature port 2. And then we'll pour our coffee, about 300 milliliters in each container. There's one. And there's the other one. And then we will put our probe from port 1 into the first container, and our probe from, make sure it gets in there and stays. And then our probe from port 2 into the second container, and make sure it stays in there. Oh, we're good. And we'll go ahead and start collecting data by pushing the start button in the middle of the GLX. And let's add our cream to our first container, about 100 milliliters. And immediately you see the temperature start to decrease. It's kind of hard to see, so let's push the auto scale button, F1, to have all that data fit on the graph correctly. And I know what you're thinking now. You're saying, what about the temperature in container 2? How do we see that? Well, you can change the data that's displayed on the graph display, and you do that by pushing the giant check mark in the middle of the GLX. Push that, and you see now that a number of items on the screen become highlighted. These are called hotspots. The shaded one is the active hotspot, and I can move through those hotspots with the arrow key. You see that they include my y-axis temperature, or my y-axis measurement, my x-axis measurement, my y and x-axis units, and the run number. So let's use the arrow key to get to the measurement we want to change, and that's temperature. When I'm ready to change it and I have that as my active hotspot, you push the check mark. Now I've got a menu of items to select from. Currently, the selection is temperature 1, which is the temperature displayed from temp port number 1. We want to see the temperature from the port number 2, so we use the arrow key to move down to that and push the check mark again to select it. And you see now that temperature 2 is displayed on our y-axis. What's even better is that you can actually see both of these at the same time. We can change that by changing our graph display through the Graphs menu, which can be accessed by pushing the F4 button, which is associated with the Graphs menu here. You see here that we have 8 items on this menu, the first 5 of which deal directly with what's displayed on the graph. We are interested in item number 3 because we want to see 2 measurements on our graph. So I can use the arrow to push down, which I can't do now because my menu went away. If you blabber too much, in 15 seconds it will turn off automatically. So we'll push the button again and stop talking, and instead of using the arrow key, we'll actually push the menu item number that we are interested in, which is 3. And now we see 2 graphs on our graph display. The temperature from port 2 is on our left, and you see on the right hand side the temperature from port number 1. If you have trouble seeing differentiating from one line to the other, it might help to change the contrast of your screen. To do that, you can do it through the settings menu, but you can also simultaneously push the home key and the up or down arrows to increase or decrease that contrast. So if you push home, we're going to decrease it just a little bit. I'm going to go back to my graph here. And you should be able to see, at least on my screen and your screen, maybe not the computer simulated screen on the right of this display, but you should be able to see that run number 1 is slightly on the right hand side. The actual run name is slightly lighter shaded than the one on the left, and the actual run should match that same shading. So you've got a darker colored run and a lighter colored run, and so we did that by adjusting our contrast.